So Affinity just dropped version 1.9.1 of all of their apps. You know what they didn't include in it? Apparently all of the most important things that everybody thinks they need in order to do their job. It's as if Affinity isn't listening to anybody. Oh, the sheer amount of comments that I get where people complain about Affinity not getting the things that they need. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? My name is Dave Connery. I'm an artist and designer based in Southern California, and let me tell you something. I have been doing this for 20 some odd years. Want to know what I've seen in that 2 decades? A lot. You want to know how much my design process has changed in those 2 decades? Not that much. I get a lot of comments, especially on any of the ones where I talk about Affinity and how great it is and how much I love the programs. I get these comments where people come in and say, if Affinity only included this, if they would just make this thing, it would be perfect. And yes, those things, Live Trace, Shape Builder, an alternative to Lightroom. If Affinity would build all of these things, they would be perfect. If they built them all, they would be Adobe. Now, I get it. I understand why people want these tools. These tools help us do our jobs. But guess what? They're just tools. Hold on. Here we have 2 hammers. They essentially do the same core job. Both pound things. This one is bigger and heavier and will do certain jobs a lot more efficiently. This one is more precise. It won't do as much damage as this, but it can hit a nail a lot easier than this one can. They both do their jobs and they do them well. But do I absolutely positively need to have both? No. If I didn't have this one, I could still use this one. You want to know why? Because somebody taught me one time how to use a hammer, and I always will remember how to use a hammer. I want to read to you this comment right here. This one popped up on a video recently. It says, Live Paint and Shape Builder tool, hyphen. Looks like Serif has no intention of creating anything like those essential tools that all pro graphic designers love. I should know. I asked them. I find that humorous because I don't know who this person is, but why on earth would they think that they are so privileged that Affinity would just turn around and say, hey, you are asking? Oh, well, here's the real information. They give you crud like million X zoom. Oh, wow, look, Mom, I can see electrons. And all the other non-essentials that amateurs love and professionals don't use. Now, I understand his point. A million X zoom isn't exactly the most essential item, but some professionals actually do use it. Why did Affinity choose to do that as opposed to something else? I don't know. Maybe it was within their capability at a certain release, so they said, hey, let's just go ahead and do this thing since it's something we can accomplish anyway. A true professional is one that works with the given tools available. An amateur is somebody who looks for the quick fix and then complains when they don't get it. Now, I have never had to do paste up, the old school way of doing design before computers. I was trained in it because back when I was doing this, there were some companies that still did that. InDesign wasn't even a thing back then. Quark was something that not a lot of companies had fully embraced yet. There were some companies kicking and screaming their way into the digital age. If for some reason all electronics went away today and we had to go completely analog with our design process, I would know what to do. That's never going to happen, but here's the thing. I can do the paste up job if I need to. I don't want to, but I could. I can do the job with Adobe. I can do the job with Affinity. I could do the job with Canva or MS Paint if you forced me to it. I would make it work, and it would look good. The ones that are coming from Adobe looking for the tools that Adobe has that Affinity does not yet are missing the point. What they are also missing is that Affinity has some things that Adobe does not have, and if I had to move back to Adobe after using Affinity, I would miss because they didn't, like this other thing that I do over here doesn't work over here anymore. It goes both ways. It just depends on what you're used to. So I understand why people would complain or be upset about those things or use those as an excuse about why they wouldn't invest in something new. I, on the other hand, have chosen to look at Affinity, number 1, because it is a cost-saving solution. Number 2, they are a forward-thinking company. Number 3, I believe that they have my best interests at heart, and they aren't just trying to gouge me. like I think Adobe does, but it doesn't really matter that much because if Adobe turned around and swallowed up Affinity just like that, I would have to go over to Adobe and I would be okay there. I think that most people would be okay there too, or at least the true professionals. I don't exist strictly for the tools. I exist on the fundamentals. I can use any hammer you give me, but if I don't know how to swing this correctly, I am most likely not going to be able to get the job done, and worst case scenario, hurt myself. So I'm scrolling through Affinity's Instagram account and I'm looking at some of these things that they've got here, and I'm thinking to myself like, okay, if this isn't a professional level program that has an amazing amount of capability, whether it's designer, photo, publisher, whatever, then explain to me how all of these works of art were created. It blows my mind that anybody would take a look at these things and say to themselves, oh yeah, no, these can't, this app can't possibly do what Adobe can do. Look at this stuff. It's amazing. I'm a little bit intimidated by some of the work that's being created by people with these programs. Like this one by this somebody named Fake Face Art. I am nowhere near this person in level of expertise when it comes to illustration. I couldn't do that, but they did it. And they did it in Affinity. They did it without Shape Builder, and they did it without Live Trace, and they did it without whatever other tool you feel like you need to have. If you feel like any program is holding you back from creating what you want to create, then the only place you're being held back is up here. Here's the thing. Adobe is over 30 years old. Photoshop came out in 1990, I believe. Affinity released Photo in 2015. So that program is only 6 years old. And Designer came after that, and Publisher is not even 2 years old yet. So let's keep things into perspective, please. Because when Photoshop was only 6 years old, you couldn't even do multiple layers. Now granted, they pioneered it. They were the first people to do it, and now everybody does it. But does that invalidate Affinity's effort to make programs that they feel best suit the people who are creating the things that they want to create? Can we just let Affinity do their job? And while they're doing their job, why don't you go work on your design fundamentals? I'm not even joking that when I say I build stuff in Affinity Photo, it is an almost identical process to what I've been doing for the last 20 years. Little things are different, but for the most part, I still work exactly the same. It's because it's what I'm comfortable with, and I am okay with that simple process. Will other tools help me do the job better? Yeah, but I always default back to the things that I know I can do because I know I can do them. No, I don't have Shape Builder, but I can still build shapes in Affinity Designer, no problem. I still have add, subtract, divide, and all the other Pathfinder-oriented type tools that I can do that job, no problem. Would I rather have Shape Builder? Sure. But it's not going to keep me from getting my job done. If not having access to Live Trace and Shape Builder keeps you from doing your job, then you don't know how to do your job. There, I said it. If I had a mic, I would drop it right about here. And then pick it back up because I have more to say. Okay, I didn't mean this to go on and be a big old ranty rant, but I think it's essential that people remind themselves that these are just tools. We're just using whatever hammer we have available to us. If this hammer isn't the hammer we need, well, too bad. It's the one we've got. Now, if you want to keep paying Adobe an exorbitant amount of money every single year just so you can have access to those tools, well, more power to you. That's on you. But don't come in here and complain that these aren't available in Affinity. It's obvious that there are designers and illustrators who are doing a more than adequate job with the tools that they have available, and they're most likely doing a much better job than you and I ever could. Oh, and if you happen to be one of the people that ever got featured on Affinity's Instagram page, right on, man. Now, to finally address the comment where the person said that they asked Affinity, and apparently Affinity was so forthright with the information that he felt confident that those things were never going to happen. Several years ago when Designer came out, I sent them a message asking if they ever planned on doing any kind of page layout support or a program that would be adequate enough to match up with InDesign. And they told me, we don't have any plans of it yet. Now here we are a couple years later, and Publisher is one of my favorite programs ever. Okay, rant off. Okay, that's going to do it for this one, folks. I really appreciate you hanging out. If you have any comments or anything you want to share in regards to this conversation, troll or otherwise, then go down to the comments and let me know what you thought. I can't wait to see what people say. While you're headed down there, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and hit that bell because you never want to miss a thing. Oh, and if you thought about it for even half a second, share this with all your homies. Now, if you want to hear anything more about my advice to young graphic designers, go ahead and hit that video right there. Or if you are looking to find out how I'm going to build a new Etsy shop from scratch in 2021 and see if I can do anything about it, go ahead and hit that one. That's my new channel right there. Go check it out. On that note, I'm out of here. I've been Dave. You've been awesome. Remember, be good today. Be even better tomorrow. See ya.